Hello, everybody. This is Omkar from BHyve, and we bring to you a brand new episode of UnLearn HR series. Today, I'm extremely delighted towards welcoming Mr. Raghunandan and talk about the importance of having effective tacit knowledge management for a successful HR business partner. Mr. Raghunandan is a versatile people manager and a high-performing HR business partner with over 2 decades of extensive experience in handling complete employee lifecycle management. An out-of-the-box thinker, a change agent, a thought leader with a flair of identifying and adopting emerging trends in addressing business requirements through technological interferences. Mr. Raghunandan, it's a complete delight. We started talking about a couple of weeks ago, and it gives me great happiness to have you on our UnLearn HR brand new episode. So thank you so much for joining in.
My pleasure, Omkar. So basically sharing my knowledge.
Yeah.
And especially, I think, thanks for giving me an opportunity to share my knowledge here.
Fantastic, sir. So, I would like to dive right in. I want to firstly start understanding that, you being an HR leader, does the responsibility of effective tacit knowledge management, and just for all the listeners, just to share a little bit more about tacit knowledge management or tacit knowledge, right? The employees' best practices, knacks, know-hows, wisdoms. These are the things what we like to count as tacit knowledge. Now, does this fall within the scope of an HR leader towards actually managing this tacit knowledge, making this tacit knowledge more accessible? And if yes, then when did this responsibility start evolving, and why is it then important for an HR leader to fulfill this responsibility of effective tacit knowledge management?
Well, as you know that a HR leader basically wears multiple hats, and certainly I think tacit knowledge management starts from the beginning when an employee is going to join an organization.
Yeah.
Maybe you can think about from an hiring perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So in case we have a suitable tool to basically capture the particular knowledge the potential employee is going to carry with him, that would basically help the hiring manager a lot. That's the initial thing. Then maybe based on the selection and we go ahead with the hiring and stuff like that, onboarding process will kicks in. So when the onboarding process kicks in, probably I think we will basically capture most of the details, personal details of an employee.
Mm-hmm.
So that means to say that, okay, fine, that's the beginning of that's the first step in basically capturing the details of an employee, and maybe his competency, his skills, the person's skills, and maybe in terms of what are the different versatile activities that he can basically carry out. This basically would help us to define the objective of the particular role that he is going to carry there. And apart from that would be in terms of allocating him across to the right team. So that's the one thing. Second thing is it helps largely in terms of resource management, and so that I can capture what are the individuals' competencies, skills, and then after that maybe I think I can influence his line manager maybe for future certifications. So that would be the initial thing. Then going forward in terms of I have to connect up with the entire life cycle of an employee. So be it in terms of compensation management. So I have to basically go ahead with the right compensation fit for the particular competency the person is going to carry. And apart from that would be in terms of engaging the particular employee in case if I'm hiring a high potential employee. So probably I will be looking in terms of engaging him. Mm-hmm. And maybe I can engage him in the cross trainings, which might take place in future.
Got it.
So essentially, HR is going to play a vital role.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a HR business partner is going to play a vital role in terms of basically partnering on the tacit knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
In managing the tacit knowledge.
Got it. Got it. So over here, this brings me to a very important question, tacit knowledge management. It's, nobody has to educate organizations that the importance of tacit knowledge management. And I think, in some ways or the other, organizations are deploying certain techniques, certain ways where tacit knowledge management are being demonstrated, right? In your experience of over 2 decades, can you help us understand that, what are the current techniques, even if they are rudimentary, that what kind of techniques do you observe that in the current corporate ecosystem that employers, corporations are investing towards, that how are they currently managing their tacit knowledge?
See, usually in the current scenario, maybe I think if I have to look at if I have to differentiate between a high potential and then a low potential employee, so there are hackathons which are happening, so that I can basically capture the different competencies the employee is going to capture, possess. Mm-hmm. And based on that, I can basically cross-train him to basically get the, training for a higher technology. Mm-hmm. Then apart from that, would be from the rudimentary techniques. In case if I have to think about that, probably let me start with the most accepted process. What we do, mm-hmm. It is a knowledge transfer, which we usually do, mm-hmm. Especially when an employee exits. So that is where we usually most of us will try to find out the potential of an employee.
Correct.
So that is the thing. Second would be in terms of when I basically look at in terms of from the organizational perspective, mm-hmm. Maybe as a part of the resource management, I also look at in terms of succession planning.
Yeah.
So in case if I am basically recognizing a high potential employee, mm-hmm. and obviously I will basically start working on the succession,
yeah,
elevating him across to the next role. So that's the thing. Third would be in terms of usually maybe I think this concept started from a Japanese manufacturing unit, where we started utilizing this technique as for on-the-job training. Mm. So usually it is experiential training the other way, if I have to say. So people would be very familiar in terms of when I basically look at in terms of OJT. Mm-hmm. As a part of the training. Mm-hmm. Fourth would be in terms of probably I would also look at in terms of cross training. Mm-hmm. So especially if in case if I have an SME, obviously I will basically ask him to cross train the team, mm-hmm. so that they are familiar with the different other activities.
Got it.
Right. So and based on the their passion and their interest, probably they can basically go ahead for additional certification. So today you have MOOCs where people they basically look into that and they get themselves additionally trained. Yeah. So that's the thing. And apart from that would be in terms of the normal aspects would be I will always look at in terms of the internal and external training, mm-hmm. which happens. Apart from that, we have engaging the team to basically start working on an SOP. Mm-hmm. or a manual. So which basically would be given across to the team once mm-hmm. after they enter the organization. So these are some of the techniques where we can basically capture the tacit knowledge.
Got it. No, this is fantastic. That the HR leaders are employing certain practices so far to actually make sure that this is achieved. But now let's talk on the damage side. I want to understand from you, from your experiences of consulting and being in organizations, that ineffective tacit knowledge management has costed in what way? When does the HR realizes that this documentation has not been able to be achieved, and what is the cost? What is the damage done to an organization when this happens?
So as in fact, I started with the knowledge transfer. Obviously, it is I will always feel the cost of not basically managing effectively in terms of when there is usually a high employee turnover.
Yeah.
Right. So probably based on the work pressure or whatever might be the thing, or maybe there are no equal learning opportunities in an organization, obviously employee is going to leave the organization.
Yeah.
So employee turnover is the first major cost which might impact me.
Yeah.
Right? Second would be in terms of if I don't capture the competencies or the skills as the employee joins an organization and cross-train them to basically to become a high potential employee.
Yeah.
So obviously one is I'm not nurturing their passion. Second is, in fact, I'm not basically keeping myself competitive in the market.
Correct.
It is more or less like I will be running the daily show, right? Or maybe in terms of if I'm in a captive center, so I will always see that, okay, fine, I have the parent company taking care of me. So let me just, whatever they dictate, let me just go ahead with those training programs, or maybe in terms of those are the competencies where I can enhance it.
Yeah.
Third would be in terms of if I'm a third party employer, if I lose a particular project for whatever the reason, maybe because of the lack of resource management or inefficient resource management, or in terms of lack of competencies in my employees. So that's the thing. And probably I might start thinking what would be the impact of that. Or maybe in terms of if an organization has not basically upgraded themselves or themselves certified into, critical competencies, probably I think that would be the other factor there.
Got it.
Then if in case, obviously, if in case I'm not competitive in the market, obviously the competitors will take edge.
Yeah.
And then after that, dictate terms.
Yeah.
So where probably I think I would then have to look at in terms of investing more in building the tacit knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is great. Now, the last thing what you ended up saying that, you might lose on the competitive edge. And my next question is actually towards that direction about that, because, very good tacit knowledge management practices are kept because a very robust mechanism has happened towards all this tacit knowledge management. What kind of competitive edge does a company can experience because they have this fantastic tacit knowledge management?
Okay. See, basically there are plenty of tools available in the market at this point of time, especially in which can be integrated across with the LMS.
Yeah.
And which would basically start capturing the employee details. Correct. Or maybe potential employee details, right? From pre-hiring to post-hiring. And maybe once after an employee joins an organization to take care of manage the entire life cycle of an employee.
Yeah.
Which would basically capture what are the potential skills the person is going to carry with him, or maybe in terms of the future cutting edge technologies which probably they would be certified into. Correct. So this basically would help an organization to stay competitive in the market, and apart from that would also help the HR business partners in managing their resources effectively.
Yeah, correct.
So this is what usually the competitors would be looking into that.
Got it. Now, as my last question, and for all our listeners, I wanted to be as practical as possible. That if I'm an HR leader, or if I'm an L&D leader, and I'm listening to this podcast, to this episode, what kind of 3 very practical tips you would like to give, which they can start incorporating at their workplace, so that tacit knowledge management, tribal knowledge management, implicit knowledge management, whatever you want to call it, can be very, very effective, and they don't want, so it can happen very immediately.
Fine. Onkar, it is like this. In case if I have to build up a community, right? Community of tacit knowledge seekers. So one is I have to influence people.
Yeah.
I should be good enough in terms of influencing them, saying that, okay, fine, what are I have to nurture their passion.
Yeah.
So once maybe I influence them, I have to inspire, saying that, okay, fine, why are they supposed to upgrade their particular knowledge? So
Yeah.
which is going to not only help them personally as well as on the professional front.
Yeah.
So that they can be competitive enough.
Yeah.
Then I have to, as a leader, I have to assess the risk, right? So I can't keep waiting for the risk to come in and after that assess and then strategize the steps.
Yeah.
Probably I have to look at the competitors and where exactly they stand and what are the different segments that I have to basically go ahead and implement in an organization so that my risk would be very less.
Yeah.
Third would be in terms of if I have to basically understand that, or maybe in terms of if I have to manage the attrition effectively. So I have to understand the pulse of an employee.
Correct.
Or the pulse of the employees. So I have to basically be very competitive, very friendly with the team, so that I can basically understand about their passion, what exactly they are basically thinking about, and how do we go about that, and maybe what are the best practices I might have to basically go ahead and introduce that.
Got it. Got it. No, this
apart from that would be in terms of if I when I'm basically understanding the pulse of an employee, it is equally important for me to basically also understand the pulse of the leaders, maybe the line manager, who might basically come into that, and probably they would be the right people who can basically give me the enough tips where exactly the employees are headed, so that I can start looking into the thing, or maybe I can start introducing some of the best practices, maybe in terms of continuous learnings or cross trainings, or maybe engagement, engage the employees there. If I have to do that, I mean, based on that, if I have to start acting, my next step would be in terms of estimating myself on what is the probable budget which is required for me to implement the best practices. Because I have all the thoughts, but at the same time, I am my hands are tied up in terms of the budget. Then I can't do much.
Got it.
Probably I might have to basically start understanding the consequences and managing it. Then would be in terms of as a facilitator, I have to accommodate the different changes, or maybe based on the market changes. I have to be flexible enough to adapt to the different changes, and maybe if I'm required as a leader, I have to basically ensure that the right learning is provided across to the employee.
Got it.
Apart from that would be in terms of if suddenly someone says probably get me trainer on Python. If I myself am not equipped with technically to understand what is Python, or maybe what is R, these are the languages. So if in case if I don't understand that, if I am not tech savvy, then I'm nowhere.
Got it.
Probably if I basically go with an consultant in the outside market, probably they might take me for a ride.
Got it. Got it.
So HR leader has to be very agile in terms of the technology. They should be tech savvy. Apart from that would be in terms of he should also be a good communicator.
Yeah.
HR leader has to communicate what are the thoughts of the organization, just to maybe cascade it down the line managers, so that the employees are aware of what are the vision and where exactly we can go.
Got it. No, this is fantastic. I think this sums up the entire gist of effective tacit knowledge management. And as you rightly said that if companies are able to incorporate this into their learning DNA, into their people DNA, about sharing, about percolation, about preservation, about creating accessibility towards tacit knowledge management, I think a great competitive edge. Some places where the company might not even have suspected that a positive change can start happening will start emerging. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for answering questions.
My pleasure.
Our series, and we wish to continue our engagement towards making tacit knowledge management as a concept more visible, more accessible for HR leaders within India and all across the world. So thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure, Omkar. Take care.